everyone. Please stand and join us as we sing our opening song, I Do What Gives Me Life.
I do what gives me life. I do what
I
gives me
do
life. I do what gives me life. I do what gives me life.
I am given
I do what gives me life. In these moments I am given.
Situations calling me. How to choose that I am living.
I now choose this path of living. I now choose what sets me free. I do what gives me life. I do what gives me life. I do what gives me life. Hey, I do what gives me life. I do what gives me life. I do what gives me life. Hey, in these moments I am given. These moments I am given. In situations calling me, I now choose this path of living. I now choose what sets me free. I do what gives me life. I do what gives me life. I do what gives me life. Hey, I do what gives me life. I do what gives me life. I do what gives me life. Hey, these moments I am given. In situations calling me, I now choose this path of living. I now choose what sets me free. I do what gives me life. I do what gives me life. I do what gives me life. Hey, I do what gives me life. I do what gives me life. I do what gives me life. Hey, these moments I'm given. In situations calling me, I now choose this path of living. I now choose what sets me free. I do what gives me life. I do what gives me life. I do what gives me life. Hey, I do what gives me life. I do what gives me life. I do what gives me life.
How lovely to see you all here today on this most beautiful, beautiful fall sunny day. And Barb so kindly reminded us that it is September 25th and 3 months to Christmas. Thanks, Barb. Yeah. Yeah. Welcome, welcome, welcome to all of you who are here. Welcome to all of you who are joining us online, and welcome to those of you who are joining on Zoom. So Jerry is going to lift up the camera, and I'm going to ask you all to turn around and wave to the people who are on Zoom. Just like that. Just look around. Hi, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yeah, hold the wave, right? We have to think of something to do there. I am Reverend Rona Segura, and it is my pleasure and privilege to be the minister here at Unity of New Westminster, this community of love and laughter and support, enlightenment, and love. Just love, love, love. Welcome to you all. If you are joining us for the first time, please subscribe to our email newsletter, subscribe to our Zoom, or subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, like us on YouTube. All those things, believe it or not, make a huge difference, especially subscribing to YouTube. Make a huge difference to whether or not people find us when they are searching. And so I invite you all to do that. Whether you are already online or here in the room, please do that as well. The Unity Movement offers empowering ideas for full and abundant living. This is what we exist to do, is to share ideas with people for their consideration so that they can choose whether or not these ideas are ready for them to be implemented and to move them towards more freedom and more abundance in their life. We draw on the teachings of Jesus, who we consider our primary way shower and example. And we see that there is wisdom, universal wisdom, to be found in faith traditions all over the planet. There's wisdom to be found in story, in song, in poetry, in life experiences, if we choose to consider and learn from them. And so we take all of these different places where we can glean wisdom. And from those places, we learn and we apply new ideas. Every single person is welcome here. Every single person is celebrated here. Every single person is considered worthy here. You belong here. Let us begin our service in a time of affirmative prayer. As we begin today, we give thanks and acknowledge that we are on the traditional and ancestral territory of the Kakite First Nation. And we give thanks for First Nations peoples everywhere, for their custody of this land on which we live, on which we play, on which we rest, and on which we work. We're so grateful that we can come together today in person and virtually to laugh together, to sing together, to bond and connect, to love one another, and to be reminded of our connection with each other. We understand that there is one power, that power which is understood by many names, that power which is celebrated and worshipped in thousands of different ways across the planet. And we lean into the idea that that power is one power, regardless of the name. There is no spot that God is not. And we are part of that power. We are expressions of and to live in that power. And in that oneness, we are all connected. And as expressions of that power, we have the power to intend. We have the power to bless. And so we send a blessing of love to every person on this planet, regardless of those differences that we see on the outside, those differences that divide us. We choose to see the differences and love through them. And today especially, we send a blessing of love, a blessing for peace, a blessing for rest to those who have been affected by floods and wind on the east coast of our country, on the east coast of the United States, the countries that have been threatened and impacted by hurricanes. We send a blessing to all who are affected by war, that they be uplifted, to know that they are not forgotten. And in our upliftment, we raise the vibration of love energy. And we do make a difference. And for that, we are so grateful. Amen.
Today from the Daily Word, Sunday, September the 25th, 2022, Harmony. Harmony is the song of my life. Harmony is an integral part of music, adding layers of intricacy and depth. Without harmony and rhythm, a musical composition would be little more than a dissonant catastrophe. With the resolution of each chord and synchronization of every note, a symphony can touch my soul with peace. Similarly, my soul finds peace as I seek accord in my relationships and every interaction I have. From a place of love and tranquility, I bring compassion to every situation. With the give and take of compromise, I build understanding and trust. I approach every interaction with faith and expectation of harmonious results. Harmonizing my mind and heart with the world around me. I welcome and do my part to create goodwill, meaning, and beauty. Live in harmony with one another. Romans 12, verse 16.
Thank you, Barb. Let's take a moment to have a time of meditation. I invite you to close your eyes if it's comfortable for you. And if it isn't, that's fine too. Just find a place where you can rest. And I invite you to become aware of your breath as it flows in and out of your body. No need to take a deep breath. Just become aware of the breath. And become aware of that rhythm of life that we feel when we become aware of our breath. The in and out. In and out. And now I invite you to bring your attention to your heart. Imagine that you are breathing from your heart, that it breathes in and out. As this magnificent organ takes that life-giving oxygen and sends it to every part of your body. How that magnificent organ receives and gives. And now, bring to mind something that delights you when you think of it. It may be a puppy or a kitten. It may be the fragrance of a beautiful flower. It may be the feel of soil as you play in the garden. Perhaps it's a grandchild or child. The sound of waves at the beach. Whatever that joyful feeling is, bring that to your attention now. And imagine the love that you are feeling in this moment. Completely filling your entire being. Feel that appreciation spreading from your heart and expanding in your body. This is harmony. Hold that image. Feel that feeling and allow it to grow and grow until it bursts out from you and touches the molecules outside of your body. Until you almost literally are vibrating. This is harmony. And in this place, is peace. And know that it is only a heartbeat and a thought away. And so fix this image in your mind, in your heart, in your body. You might even consider placing it somewhere in your body. And at any time, when you need to feel harmony, when you long for a place of peace, reach for this image. And allow it to sustain you. Allow it to bring you peace. And in silence, now, find a home for that image, so that you will be able to touch it and reach for it at any time.
I will be gentle with myself. I will be gentle with myself. And I will hold myself like a newborn baby child. I will be gentle with myself. I will be gentle with myself. And I will hold myself like a newborn baby child. I will be tender with my heart. I will be tender with my heart. And I will hold my heart like a newborn baby child. I will be tender with my heart. I will be tender with my heart. And I will hold my heart like a newborn baby child. And I will only go as fast as the slowest part of me feels safe to go. I will only go as fast as the slowest part of me feels safe to go. I will be easy on myself. I will be easy on myself, and I love myself like a newborn baby child. I will be easy on myself, I will be easy on myself, and I love myself like a newborn baby child. I will only go as fast as the slowest part of me feels safe to go. And I will only go as fast as the slowest part of me feels safe to go. Now I know I am gentle with myself, I am gentle with myself, and I hold myself like a newborn baby child. I am gentle with myself, I am gentle with myself, and I hold myself like a newborn baby child. And I rock myself like a newborn baby child. And I hold myself like a newborn baby child. And I love myself like a newborn baby child.
Can you imagine that for yourself? That one day you were a newborn baby child, and somebody wrapped you, and somebody held you, and somebody loved you. Hold that thought, and then hold it for yourself. So I was wondering what I was going to talk to you about today, and what kept coming up was one of the most powerful life stories that I've ever learned. And I have a few, and you've heard some of these before, and you might hear this one. You might have heard this one before, and you'll likely hear it again. And it's to do with New Year's Eve, 2015 or so, a long time ago. And Walt and I always try to do something on New Year's Eve. At least we used to in the before times, before COVID. And I wanted to spend New Year's Eve at this big gala do that they were going to have at some place in downtown Vancouver with 600 people, and it was going to be, flapper themed, and it would be like this huge number of people, none of whom I would know, but all that I would consider friends. So that's what I wanted to do. And he wanted to do something that was a little bit more intimate. And so we negotiated, as couples do, and we decided, okay, we'll go to the Keg for dinner at Granville Island, and then we'll wander down and see the fireworks down, not at English Bay, but near where Science World was. Great. He gets the intimacy, I get the party, right? That was the plan. So we go to the Keg, and we have this lovely dinner, And we had a wonderful server. And this server was a UBC student. He is interested in astronomy. Walt loves astronomy. Blah, 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 chat, 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 chat. And then all of a sudden, it's 11:45, and we're still in the restaurant, right? So, nice to meet you. Happy New Year. Get out of there. And of course, we're midway between the 2 points in this back alley. You know, Granville Island has some places that can be a little sketchy if, aren't necessarily well lit. Well, that's where we were at the magical hour of midnight, bringing in this new year. So there was a part of me that was like, okay. And there was another part that was really kind of upset. And I was so we managed to get to the fireworks, and we saw like 3 fireworks before it was done, and so on. I was telling my sister about that the next day, about the experience, and I'm like, we had a lovely evening, and at the same time, I kind of can't make out why I'm feeling this sense of dis-ease about it at the same time. And she said, well, it's because you were attached to an idea. Your expectation was that you were going to be watching these fireworks, and it didn't happen. And if you didn't have that expectation, you'd have just had a lovely evening. And it was like, ding, 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 this light bulb went off. My sister is a very wise person. And so what I realized, and it's always stuck with me, is that expectation was made by me. And if it had been any other night of the year, without that expectation, it would have been a very pleasant evening. And so what I realized is that my attachment to this picture, which I had made up, was causing my upset. And all I needed to do to get rid of the upset was change the picture and make it okay. The only person who was suffering was me, and the only reason I was suffering was because it was kind of what I wanted to do. I know that there are some of you out there who've had the same thing, where you just kind of love being in victimhood once in a while when things don't go your way. It's like, oh, look at me. And what came to mind was this sentence that I heard from my friend and someone who I consider a mentor in my life, Reverend Dr. Martha Creek. And one of her favorite things is to say, SW, SW, SW. Some will, some won't, so what? And here's an example of that. Sometimes things will go my way. Sometimes things won't, as happened this New Year's Eve. So what am I going to do with that? Because I get to choose. When things don't go our way, can we step back and say, oh, that was an expectation. I guess I'm feeling disappointed. And then choose to shift that around. This doesn't need to happen for just New Year's Eve. I mean, think of things that happen in life. And each one of us here in this room and watching today has experienced both joy and sorrow, ups and downs, getting a job, losing a job, being in relationship, being out of relationship, thinking things are the top of the world and then thinking things are awful, feeling healthy, not feeling healthy, feeling like we have the best friends in the world, and then feeling upset because someone has done something that betrays us, or we feel betrayed or hurt. We've all gone through all of it, haven't we? And what if we can then take that recognition that we've all gone through all of it and stop fighting it? Because it's in the fight that we suffer. It's in the expectation that it's not going to be like that we suffer a lot. What if we could say, of course, things aren't always going to go my way? Well, let's think about why it's important. When things don't go my way, as happened this New Year's Eve, there was a part of me that was having this conversation with myself about how I should have been keeping an eye on the time, how I should have been more insistent that I did what I wanted, like all the stuff going through my head, holding grudges, second guessing, beating myself up, mentally beating Walt up, like all of it, right? And that's what happens when we fight against what's going on. What is actually in front of us now is we end up being in this place that is really negative. And at that point, it's too late to change. So all of that armchair quarterbacking, that looking backward and saying, I wish I should have, I needed to, is all very unproductive because it's not going to change what happened. And when we do that, we end up putting ourselves in a place of imprisonment where we actually lock ourselves in. And Jesus said this in the Sermon on the Mount. I'm going to show you a picture of it. This is my version of his picture. If I can get this to work. There we go. So what Jesus said is, and it's always confused me, in Matthew chapter 5, verse 25, he says, "Come to terms quickly with your accuser while you are going with him to court, lest your accuser hand you over to the judge, and the judge to the guard, and you be put in prison." And you be put in prison. So what Jesus is saying, make friends with the accuser just in case you get imprisoned. Well, guess what? That's exactly what happened. I was not making friends with my accuser. I was quite enjoying having this misery. And in the end, me making the judgment meant that I was the one who was having a crappy time. And so, this image that I have should really have, do I have them on there now? That we are the accuser. The accuser is in us. And then we are the judge. And we judge things to be good or bad. And then we are the ones that shackle ourselves and stop having fun. And that changes the feeling of that teaching for me. Because then it makes sense. If I can make sense make amends is one of I think the King James Version says, make amends with your accuser quickly. It's the idea of being okay with that part of you that's going to say all of these things, And then come to terms with it and go, well, of course there are going to be times when that's not going to happen the way we want. I should have labeled this talk, of course. Because of course there'll be times that things go my way, and of course there'll be times when they won't. That's coming to terms with reality. And when we can get to that point, then we don't put ourselves in the prison of our own making. That prison of frustration and anxiety and holding grudges and being resentful and worrying. A prison of making demands and being upset. Of course, things aren't always going to go my way. Now imagine for a moment the consequences of that prison. Upset relationships, no fun, anger, distress. Here's a picture of it. If I can get it to work. Jerry, could you move that forward? There we go, thanks. So you got expectation, you got reality. Imagine a line of expectation here and reality here. And to the extent that there is a gap between expectation and what actually happens, that gap is where we suffer. And so, to the extent that we can adjust our expectation and manage it, to that extent, we will suffer less. So we won't have disappointment, we won't have disillusionment, we won't have depression, we won't have this distress that we feel. We can then say, oh well, which is one of Reverend Joy's favorite things to say, oh well. Of course. And when we do that, now we're in a place to be more productive with it. Okay, that didn't happen. Now, who am I going to be in this situation of being in the middle of a dark alley in Granville Island at the stroke of midnight? Can I make this into something fun? The answer is, it's up to me. We have so many life events that have the capacity to knock us off our path, our intention. What if we could deal with those catastrophes, those irritations, those whatever they might be, situations that can disappoint us so much, with a level of acceptance that includes, yes, this is what life is. We have this tendency as humans to label things as good and bad, right or wrong. We even go so far as to say, in God and out of God. You know, God or the devil. Well, Unity's first principle is that there is no spot that God is not. So even in the crappy things, that is also part of the life experience that we humans have on this planet. So what if we could see as, of course, the fact that we will have things that don't go our way? Will we not be more likely then to just be in a place of going with the flow rather than trying to fight against something that's already happened. I mean, it's so illogical that it's almost funny, and at the same time, we do it all the time. Imagine life as a stream flowing one way, and we're on a boat. And then imagine us trying to argue against reality and how much work it would take to try and navigate our way upstream when life is pushing us this way. Tons of energy gets used up and wasted, and we end up not going anywhere, not being able to direct how we respond. And so imagine this idea of going with the flow and then intentionally steering your boat, your consciousness, in how you are going to be with the flow. Because, like it or not, you will be with the flow. And so what Jesus suggests is that we come to terms with that accuser within us. There is this call to integrate that which we label as bad or unpleasant or undesirable. This call to come to terms with it for our own freedom. Does that mean that things won't hurt? Of course not. Things will hurt. But what it does mean is that we free ourselves from fighting it, from fighting against things that we already have no control over. What it means is that we can use our energy more effectively, which means we'll be less likely to be reactive, less likely to say things that we are going to regret later, things that might escalate and make things worse rather than help to calm things down. It will allow us to respond rather than react. So how do we do that? The first thing is to remember these words. I have the power to change my mind. I have the power to change my mind. Move from should to of course. Accept that spectrum that includes those things that we don't like. And remove, if you can, from your vocabulary, even for a day, the word should. Watch how often we use it. Let me rephrase that. I will watch how often I use it. And I use it all the time. Instead, accept that God is in the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. There is no spot that God is not. Whether we like it or not, the entire spectrum of the human experience includes things that aren't always fun. So instead of should or shouldn't, this shouldn't be happening to me. I just received a diagnosis and I've eaten well and I don't smoke and I don't drink. This shouldn't happen to me. Or I just lost my job, but I've done everything right. I've always been there. I've been loyal to the company. I always showed up on time. I always did a good job. This should not happen to me. Any one of hundreds of these. My husband came home and told me that he's leaving me. This should not happen to me. My son says that he's moving to another city because he doesn't like to be close to me. This should not happen to me. This should not happen to me. This should not happen to me. It is happening, whatever that might be. Of course, it's part of human experience. And then, with that, and by the way, none of those things are true for me. Just saying. Then the other part is, ask yourself, what story am I making up about it? And recognize that the suffering comes after the comma. I lost my job, comma. This should not be happening to me. I lost my job, comma. That means that they don't like me. I lost my job, comma. Now I'm not going to find something else. The only part that's true and factual is the first part of that sentence. And then after that, all the other stuff is the stuff that leads to either a degree of acceptance or a degree of pain. So watch where you put the comma, because maybe all it needs is a period, a full stop. I lost my job. And then from there, we could take a breath. And now what am I going to do? What are my resources? Da-da-da-da-da-da. So you're looking forward. We are humans, and as humans, we are masters at story making. And so if you need to have something after the comma, then remember that you have the power to change your mind and put a story in that's happier. You can actually do that. No one can stop you because it's your mind, your story. You get to choose. There's such power in that. Such power. So, let's make up how we would be if we had a different story, or if we didn't believe the story that is our habitual go-to. And then finally, manage your energy. Go with the flow. Accept this idea that it is all included. That it is all included. And manage those expectations. Does that mean, and I'm sure that you're going to say, you're thinking to yourself, does that mean that I shouldn't have high expectations? What I'm saying is, let's be realistic about our expectations. Of course there are times when we're going to have high expectations. But let's not pin all our hopes on those high expectations, because sometimes they're not going to pan out. And then our story comes in. Our expectation didn't pan out, comma, and that means I should have, I didn't, he doesn't, they don't, all of the story. Add a layer of realism to the expectation. If someone disappoints you, then before getting all upset at the fact that they've disappointed you, take a breath and ask yourself if there's ever been a time that you've disappointed someone else. Oh, geez. Of course there's been a time that you've disappointed someone else, because today's talk should have been called, Of Course. And then when that's true, now you can treat it with a little bit more compassion. Maybe you won't be so reactive. Maybe you won't decide to break off a friendship. Maybe you'll just be in a place that's a little bit more kind. And a little bit less suffering for you and for them. Remember, Unity's third principle. Unity's third principle, which is I got like 3 different principles, but ideas lead to experiences. Ideas, whatever you think, is going to help to form how you experience it. So change it. You get to. I once heard someone pick up a Bible, and it was the thing on the outside said Bible, and in the inside they had just put paper. And he started tearing the paper. Well, you can imagine how upset people were. Until he turned around and showed them that there was just paper inside. And then that relaxed everyone. Who made up that story that if it's something that is a piece of paper with certain words on it, it should not be touched. But if it's words with a different words on it, that it's okay to tear? It's all made up. You have the power to change your mind. It has been a few years since that New Year's Eve. It has been not necessarily my favorite New Year's Eve, but one of the best lessons in my life. You're welcome. What I learned is that expectations lead to suffering. Expectations lead to suffering. Sometimes things will go my way. Sometimes they won't. It is up to me to say, so what am I going to do about it? Move from should to of course. Be less shocked when things go sideways, because they will. Identify the story that you're telling yourself. Notice where the facts end and the meaning begin after the comma. And choose to change the meaning. And manage your energy. Don't waste energy on stuff that is in the past. Direct it, going with the flow, so that you actually can add to your life now. Oh, those expectations. Some will, some won't. So what? You have the power to change your mind. I bless you. Oh, I guess I could do this. And one more, Jerry.
Changes things that shape my life. I am the thinker who thinks the thought. I have the power to change my life. I am the thinker who thinks the thought that changes things that shape my life. I am the thinker who thinks the thought. I have the power to change my life. And if you ask me who am I am wisdom, I am light, I am more than meets the eye, I cannot be defined. I am the thinker who thinks the thought that changes things that shape my life. I am the thinker who thinks the thought. I have the power to change my life. I am the thinker who thinks the thought changes things that shape my life. I am the thinker who thinks the thought. I have the power to change my life. And if you ask me what am I am beauty, I am joy, I am more than meets the eye, I cannot be defined. I that shape my life. I am the thinker who thinks the thoughts. I have the power to change my life. I am the thinker who thinks the thought that changes things that shape my life. I am the thinker who thinks the thoughts. I have the power to change my life. Brightens someone's darkest night, and so much more than meets the eye. I cannot be defined. I am the thinker who thinks the thought that changes things that shape my life. I am the thinker who thinks the thoughts. I have the power to change my life. I am the thinker who thinks the thought changes things that shape my life. I am the thinker who thinks the thoughts. I have the power to change my life. I have the power to change my life. I have the power to change my life.
All are welcome to join our prayer service on Mondays from 10:30 till 11:15 a.m. on Zoom. Check the website or the email newsletter for the Zoom link. The celebration of life for Linda McIntosh, originally scheduled for October the 16th, has been postponed. A new date for Linda's celebration will be announced sometime in the future. Please note that there will be no creative cafe and karaoke sessions today. Creative cafe and karaoke will return on the last Sunday in October, October 30th. Today is the last Sunday of the month, the day we celebrate the birthdays in the month. Please join us in the fellowship hall and on Zoom after the service so we can celebrate you. Here is the income statement for the month of August 2022. You'll notice that
You can hear me? No. Oh, there it's on. Okay, there we go. Okay, here's the income statement for the month of August 2022. You'll notice that we spent more money than income, and that this month. Most of that reason was it cost us over $4,000 for the concrete to be poured. So that's why that is a little bit more for the expensive side. You'll also notice that we have $45,000 sitting in the bank. That's because we got the legacy gift from Linda. It's a huge legacy gift, and that is for what we had talked about. If you were here, we had a town hall and we got some ideas on building improvements, whether building a ramp to make this place truly acceptable to all, or make a lift or something like that, or windows, putting windows in, stuff like that, whatever the priority was. So that's where we're putting that big chunk of money for. So we really do encourage everybody to please still continue to donate and support us. that money is set aside for something big already. So we're just asking that you please keep up your donations and don't just think that we've got $40,000 and we're doing good, because we're not. Okay, Barb, you okay with that? Okay.
Good, thank you. We are grateful for your please bring to mind something you're grateful for. We are so blessed. Offering, I am so blessed.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
And we indeed are blessed. We bless these gifts. We bless the people who are here. We are blessed that you are present today. We bless you who are watching. We bless those of you who are on Zoom and watching that way. Thank you to those who have been here supporting us with our sound, with our camera, with greeting, with making coffee, with working in the office, with working in the garden, with being on the board, all of those things that make a community a community. And thank you to all of you for being here today and for being willing to consider new ideas, consider things that break some old habits that may no longer serve you. I honor each and every one of you, and I am so blessed. Let's move into a circle as we sing our peace song and as we sing our prayer for protection. Thank you, Barb.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as Creator, family are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with
I am the light of God. I am the love of God. I am the power of God. I am the presence of God. Wherever I am, God is. I am the light of God. I am the love of God. I am the power of God. I am the presence of God. Wherever I am, God is. You are the light of God. You are the love of God. You are the power of God. You are the presence of God. Wherever you are, God is. You are the light of God. You are the love of God. You are the power of God. You are the presence of God. Wherever you are, God is. We are the light of God. We are the love of God. We are the power